It's no blood, no foul.
It's no blood, no foul.
It's no blood, no foul. Emotions spill on the court when you proud to rep your city. New York's the hometown. Playgrounds prepare me for
What's going on, everyone, and welcome to a special edition of the No Blood, No Foul podcast presented by Real GM. I'm your host, Slice, joined by my co-hosts as always, Coke, Jim, Moo, and of course, Kyle. And, we got to talk about free agency signing. Free agency period just started, Monday? There was a lot of move that the Knicks made as well as teams around the league. And, there were some hot takes that were being taken on Real GM and across the Twitter sphere there for NBA. So we want to make sure we get our thoughts out there and make sure we hear some feedback from our fans. So, Coke, I'm going to kick it off to you. What do you think about the free agency signing period for the Knicks?
Well, from Jump Street, I was a little nervous. I'm not going to even front. When those signings were announced, I'm like, here we go again. There was no sexy names thrown out there. The first things we're hearing about is Noel and Burks, and it's like, okay, we're bringing our own guys back, and they're getting significant raises. So I was a little angry because I'm like, I'm expecting new talent to come in. I wanted to see an influx, and I wanted to hear re-signings of our own guys like last. So to hear that first kind of threw me off, I'm not going to lie. Then the news about Rose broke and Fournier. So, Fournier, when you hear him first, I know we spoke about him at the deadline. We wanted to acquire him for that second round pick. Didn't happen. So this is somebody we thought could fit. But being our marquee acquisition, it was a disappointment at first. I'm not going to lie. I'm like, Fournier, this is the guy that we traded out of the 19th pick, for to save money for. We didn't really get anybody else at that point. And it just was looking ugly. And I think I speak for the fan base when I say everyone was, I'm not going to say everyone, but the majority were disappointed. But fast forward to tonight, today the news broke about Kemba signing. And I think that changes the complexion of the whole offseason. These acquisitions, they now slot some of the other guys down. We got Kemba as the marquee acquisition. Fournier now slots in as another wing alongside RJ. A major upgrade over Elf with Kemba's shooting ability to score off the dribble. And then we got Fournier off the ball as a secondary playmaker, along with RJ and Randall. It starts to look better now. The fit makes a little bit more sense. And I think Leon Rose, Worldwide West, they redeemed themselves with that Kemba acquisition.
I mean, I'm glad we didn't do this 24 hours ago. I was like itching. I was like itching to get on the podcast, and luckily y'all were busy. I was even thinking about doing my like own thing, just because I was just like I was so heated in the moment, And it's funny because it's like none of the contracts are in particularly bad. Like I maybe I'd rather have Noel at like 24 million over 3 years instead of the 31 or 32 or whatever it is. But none of them are in particularly bad. But it just seemed like such a waste of $52 or $53 million. Now, all of a sudden, then today, where you get Kemba Walker for essentially free, and there are some red flags with him. He is pretty banged up. We don't know how much mileage is left in that left knee of his. But you look at some of his stats, like from April, he was like a 50, 40, 90 guy on like 20 plus points. And you're like, oh, and that's like, that's like 2 or 3 months ago. That's really good. He can still play if he can stand up. And I think that, like Coach said, I think that just kind of changes the whole complexion of the offseason. Everything falls into place a little bit. We have probably the most stable point guard position I've ever seen, maybe at least in the last 20 years. I'm genuinely happy. And like, granted, like this doesn't make us a title contender. We probably just increased our chances of being a second round team, but I think I'm going to enjoy watching these guys. Mukat, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the way I see it, and I know a lot of the guys on the board, they're using the Kemba as a Kemba signing as a, rallying cry that the Knicks offseason was great. I mean, everything is by itself. It stands alone, right? Regardless of how nice the Kemba signing is, it doesn't really detract from what else you could have done better. So Kemba's great, right? Regardless, even if his knees are shot, I don't think it is. I think Rose is more shot than Kemba is, right? So having the two of them there I don't want to say splitting minutes because I'm going to guess that Kemba is going to get more minutes, right? So having the two of them there addresses some significant needs. The value is great, $8 million a year for 2 years. I mean, even if he's at 50%, that's still pretty good, right? I'm hoping he'd be closer to 70, 80%. If he can reach that point, and I'm expecting some, coming back to New York, the adrenaline, at least to power him out of the game. And he'll do some things, and the Knicks will look great, and maybe they could carry some of that through. But the rest of the signings, Fournier, I've always liked him, right? Folks are saying that he's just really kind of Bullock a little bit better. He's really not, right? He creates shots. Yep. He passes better. He just has a better feel for the game. He's not the most defensively, gifted guy. But honestly, we talked about this, right? None of those Knicks are. And yet, as a team, they played great. So I'm expecting Fournier to step in and play solid team defense. He's not going to be a great individual defender. But again, Bullock really wasn't that either, career-wise. The rest of the guys, I like Burks, bring him back. Having the contracts being 1 year, a team option for the last year, and that's great. It bumped a lot of the D ratings to C, C to B. I don't know. I think they could have waited and see, at least for Noel, see what the market is. I don't think anybody was rushing to give him that contract. I just don't. I agree with Kyle that you can find backup bigs. It's backup C's, backup PFs. Those are really easy to find. So rushing to sign Noel, it's whatever it is. Overall, the reality is there just weren't that many stars, right? Not very many top guys. They could have gone with DeMar. I mean, I would have rather DeRozan than re-signing their role players. I said that on the board, but they didn't. It's not awful. Kemba makes it better. It remains to be seen. Let's see what they can develop, what they can do with this team, and what they could get in the future. This is going to would this get them, my question is after all of this, would this, if they had this team instead of the other team, would this have gotten them past the Hawks? I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think so.
So can I just jump in with something real quick before we move on? So we're talking about the point guard situation. So if you look at the per 36 production from Kemba and Rose last year, Rose scored 21 points, 6 assists, 4 rebounds on 55% true shooting last year. Kemba Walker, 22 points, 6 assists, 5 rebounds on 56% true shooting last year. So basically, as long as Kemba doesn't fall off a cliff, you're getting 48 minutes of Derrick Rose from last year production for us.
Right.
Kyle, that's like 1% below true shooting average. So that was bad, apparently.
It's not great, but I'm just gonna say
better than
you got that for below what Dinwiddie got, and even in his best years, he didn't do that.
Yeah. Well, no, so I'm like tongue in cheeking a debate that I had on the board because for me, it's like to be average efficiency, like you can't be exactly on the number of the average true shooting number. There has to be brackets on either side of them. And for me, I feel like if you're like 1% on either side, or maybe like 1.5% on either side, I think it's safe to say that you're average. So if you that's how I personally feel. But I don't want to go too off topic. I don't know if we beat the Hawks with this team because Kemba was pretty atrocious in the playoffs this last year, but I think we would probably take them to 7 games. It would be way more competitive. I mean, we ended up getting blown out like the last 3. So I think it would be definitely way more competitive in the series. Coke?
Yeah. Coke, give us your thoughts on that before I jump into my thoughts on free agency.
I think it gives us a hell of a better shot against a team like, the Hawks. First of all, we have bona fide shooting now. So if we had those guys during that playoff series, just look at Kemba from the point guard position. Starting, Elf was just, a 0. We got a guy who puts up 8 attempts a game, hits 3 of them, and he's a legitimate threat to take and make a three. And I think that makes a world of difference between us getting off starting in these holes that we were starting in, basically playing 3-on-5, because we weren't getting much offense out of the center position either. So I think that's a big upgrade. And then you talk about Fournier, and I'm gonna play off what Moose said, just his ability to not only shoot the ball at a 40% clip from three, but to be a tertiary playmaker, taking you off the dribble, getting to the line a little bit, just having that offensive versatility. I know we were getting that from Burks, but to have that in the starting lineup, and you have that from Burks coming off the bench, it just makes you have more threats on the floor. And that's something we were missing. I love Bullock. You guys know I wanted to bring him back as a 3-and-D guy. But, for all his ability to hit the three, he really couldn't do much else. They were able to hide Trey on him defensively because they know Bullock's not a threat to take anyone off the dribble. Fournier may not be able to guard the way Bullock can, but at least you can't just throw Trey on him and hide him. So now we got more threats. It's all about threats, man. So I like it. I think we would be able to take them in that series. I would be pretty confident with that.
No, you hit it right on the head there, bro. You took my points on that. Reggie Bullock, for what he did, he can only shoot threes. You give this starting lineup that we have now, Trae Young can't be hitting on anybody. Trae Young's going to have to defend. He's going to get exposed defensively. This team can score, and the only reason that we didn't beat the Hawks is not like the defense was bad. The offense just fell apart when Julius Randle wasn't able to do his thing. Now you got Kemba Walker, Fournier, RJ Barrett, Julius Randle, and Mitch, say if we're all healthy. That team is beating the Hawks, in my opinion. That offense is there. Reggie Bullock, like you guys said, he's a better team defender, but Moo made a great point. We were a great defensive team, not individual defensive players on a team. So I don't think the defense is going to fall off that much, which is why I think Nerlens Noel was re-signed. I do agree with everybody else. I don't think there's anybody who loved that contract for Nerlens, but he brought back some continuity, and he played great defense. He was top 3 in blocks in 75% of the minutes that Miles Turner and some of those other guys. But I think Miles Turner led the league in blocks per game, if I remember right. But, Mo, I know you got your thoughts on Nerlens. He did make too much money, but I like him as a backup 5 spot, in my opinion. To me, Jim, you kind of said it before. If we had this podcast yesterday, I would have flamed the whole Knicks Real GM board because I was going at it with our boy MP Harris a little bit. Kyle, I commented on some of your posts. I thought there was way too much overreactions. This front office, since they have come in, has not done anything bad. Haven't taken on any better contracts. We haven't really gotten rid of future assets. We keep gaining assets. I think, we'll talk. I haven't really joined you guys to talk about the draft a bit. I thought what they did in the draft worked out well. They had players that they targeted. They were able to get them for cheaper contracts, and they were able to flip it for future assets. And I think, Kyle, I don't know if you talked about it on the pod. I saw you on the post. Granted, they could have gotten some better value for those, maybe another second or something like that. But I think overall, from what they did in the draft, I loved it. As long as those guys were their targets, they didn't want to, take on, Keon Johnson or Jalen Johnson, some of these other guys who might have potential. To me, I think the Knicks had a plan. They executed it very well. And I don't know. I just can't see people complaining, you know what I mean, until the full scope comes out. I think the move back was to get extra cap space to sign a guy like Kemba. The cap space wasn't for Evan Fournier. The cap space was to bring a point guard in like Kemba. And who knows, maybe they did have a handshake deal with OKC. We helped them out with the George Hill trade last year, 32 for 34 and 36. Or maybe it was, hey, we're letting Kemba go. He wants to come to New York. I don't, that's all speculation, right? But to me, I think the cap space was created in order to get a point guard because you still got Reggie Jackson out there. You still got Schroeder out there, guys who I didn't really want. And I completely forgot about Kemba, you know what I mean? And 50% of Kemba is better than 100% of Elf. So to me, we already made a great strides there. And I think Evan Fournier is a hell of an improvement over Reggie Bullock. I would have loved to see him come back first, but, and Coke, to your point, I love the Burks signing, actually. To me, how many fourth quarter comebacks? I don't know, Kyle, if you can pick that up, look that up real quick. But how many fourth quarter comebacks did we have where Alec Burks led the charge? You know what I mean? And now he's in his regular role, coming off the bench behind a solid point guard rotation in Kemba Walker and Derrick Rose. Jim, like you said, one of the most stable point guard rotations we've had, since Jay Kidd, Pablo, and Ray Felton probably, right? And even then, you're going way before that. So to me, I'm actually grading this an A. B plus, A minus was mine. After getting Kemba, I think it's an A. The team got better. I'm all about continuity. I wasn't I didn't want to tank again like some of these guys did. And I could say B plus because you know what, Nerlens you could have gotten at a better price, even though there were rumors that I think the Mavs and maybe I forget it was a West Coast team were into him. Maybe you had to pay a little bit to bring him back. But I'm big on continuity. I'm big on improving on what was a great Knicks season. So to me, yes, it's an A minus. I'll give it a final grade of an A minus in my opinion.
All right, since we giving out grades, I'll go next. I'm gonna give this a solid B. And the reason I'm saying this is I do see, as much as I like the fit, I like the versatility, I like the depth of the lineups. But what I don't like is we're a little bit brittle. And I'm gonna run through this roster and just tell you about it. We got Kemba Walker questionable with the knees. We got Derrick Rose questionable with the knees. Then we got Fournier. He's had some knee issues as well. We got Mitch Robinson. I heard he's in a boot. So that tells me that healing process is not going as smooth as we thought. We got Noel, who's like always banged up because he's a toothpick. Who else? And we got Taj, who's old man of the crew. So I feel like when everyone's healthy, I think we'll be able to play with anyone, especially with a coach like Tibbs, who's going to get every ounce out of this roster that it has. But if a bunch of guys go down at the same time, if there's a perfect storm of injuries, so to speak, I do see potential for a free fall. So the main thing this season is we're going to have to be healthy. We're going to have to utilize that depth. And, as long as guys are able to play, I think we'll be able to run with anyone. But like I said, if it happens to be a perfect storm of injuries, the saving grace will be we still have our pick, so we're in control of our destiny. So, like I said, that's the only way I'm grading it for a B instead of an A. But even that could work out positive because if the perfect storm of injuries happens, at least we'll end up in a lottery with another great pick that could be used as trade bait.
Damn, Coke, you stole my reason, my rationale. I was gonna say probably B minus. I don't think we really added anyone to the core, really. I think we just kind of like put together some pieces to make like a little bit of a run. This will probably be like a 2-year run, and then we're gonna try to tear down and hope to attract some more free agents because like we're gonna have like another $50 million in cap space most likely, or at least $50 million in dollars coming off the books in 2 years. I'm like excited, but at the same time, like you said, we're a very brittle team. We're like relying on a bunch of old guys that have a long list of injuries, and I could see that going very poorly. Although I think the lineup does fit together pretty well. I do think we have a lot of guys that like to dribble. We're going to see how we're going, RJ is really developed as a catch and shoot guy. Fournier has some catch and shoot stuff. But will Randall be okay with standing in the corner sometimes, allowing some of these guys to, run some pick and roll with Mitch? That's to be seen. Because I'm assuming his role is going to change a little bit now that Kemba. It's not going to be, Randall in the post, and I want you to find shooters in the corner. So it's going to put a little bit more pressure on Tibbs to be able to deviate the responsibilities and get people into a nice pecking order offensively. So that's why I'm go B minus with my grade.
Yeah, I mean, I think mine is also a B minus. I love the Kemba signing. I'm not so much worried about Kemba and Randall. I think, if you give him a little bit of time, assuming that Kemba kind of returns into that, almost Kemba prime type of player, he's definitely going to be, the guy that I think has the ball in his hand. So is Randall's role changing? Yeah. Assuming that, best case scenario, Randall's is not going to likely be the number one option from my standpoint. Can he adapt to it? I think so. I don't think he necessarily needs the ball all the time. I think he'd be okay with, he's still going to get his shots. So it's not like the Knicks are chuck loaded now with offensive talent, right?
Yeah.
They upgraded. He's still going to get a shot. I think he'll be fine with it. The key is for him and Kemba to play together and kind of get a little bit of vibe for one another. They're going to be the two main guys. And then everybody revolves around those two. RJ honestly might be the one that gets hit the most, right?
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how he develops. Because we saw it last year. He forced a lot of shots, right? Kind of because he was thrown in as the de facto number two. You just had no other choice, right? Rose could only play so many minutes, and RJ had to do a lot more than I think he was able to. Now that we've got Kemba, we've got a 18-point per game score in Fournier. We still got Rose back. I'd be interested to see what happens to Barrett. How does he develop? How does he fit into all of this? So for me, he's more of the wild card now. I know a lot of fans probably don't want to hear that, but that's my take. I see this offseason. Originally, I had this like a D, C minus or D.
Yeah.
With Kemba, with the contracts, I mean, I'm willing to go as high as a B. I don't think it's an A. It's hard to get an A, right?
Yeah.
I give it a B minus.
Yeah, I think what really helped it was finding out that the third years and the fourth years are team options.
Right.
I think that like really changed my like whole perspective on a lot of these deals, because again, it's like you sign all your role players without having your stars in place, and it's like that seems just like bad team building. But if you're going to put together a squad to make a 2-3 year run, that makes it a little bit more different. And again, it's like I'm not 100% sure we got the stink off of MSG by just being good last year.
Right.
Like I think we need to keep this train running, chugging along a little bit.
No, exactly. That's, to me, that's where, people were trying to say we should have tanked. We should just try to blow it all up. No, you got to keep some momentum going so MSG is not seen as a laughing stock every year. What, you're a team that finally makes the playoffs, now you're going to shit the bed again and go, and try to tank and try to just go for another draft pick? No, it's time to move on and get some competitive basketball in here, which is why I like the moves. And Moo, I want to talk to your point about RJ. I think RJ's going to have a much better improvement this year because he's not going to drive to the paint, and if the paint's not going to be crowded.
Right.
That was the problem every year, right? I think, Jim, you brought it up a lot. You and I, how many times did he go up and just throw it behind over his head and get swatted, falls to the ground, and now the team's running on a fast break because the other defenses were able to collapse on us. Now, I think Fournier, I think he was a 55% three-point shooter from the corners. I think I read that looking up his stats. So you got guys who are able to kick out and spread the ball and hit the open shot, which is why when Julius Randle early on last season, he was distributing the ball very well. He was adapting to a newer role. I think it's only going to get easier for him. Yeah, he's not going to start start possessions with the ball in his hand, but he's going to get it in much more comfortable spots and better spots to be able to do moves and create with the ball. So to me, I think the starting lineup fits together very well. It's kind of the bench where we're going to have to see, and this is where I want to get your guys' take on it. And obviously, we got a lot of the people talking about it. Is the young guys. Where does IQ fall in? Grimes, Deuce, we got them coming in. Where do these guys fall in? Is Luka even going to be on the team next season? So, Coke, I'll kick it off to you. What do you think? Do the young guys see the court outside of injuries? And do you think there's a candidate or a dark horse you might see who might surprise us and get some more playing time this season?
All right. For starters, young guys, I don't think they're seeing the court right away. I think they're going to have to wait for daylight. We mentioned some of these guys are brittle. Injury history. I think they're going to get a shot throughout the course of an 82-game season, but I don't think it's going to be just handed to them, from the outset. And that's fine with me. As much as I want to see the kids, that's what summer league is for. That's what the training camp is for. And then they're going to have to earn it in practice. So I'm cool with it as long as we had guys who are clearly better. And I think we have that. Now let's run through this bench. I did a kind of a roster breakdown where I broke down the depth chart. So I'm going to just share that with the guys. I'm seeing Kemba as a starter, Barrett as at the 2, Fournier at the 3, and Barrett and Fournier interchangeable. So whatever you want to call it doesn't really matter. Randle at the 4, and of course Mitch. He's going to be back starting as long as he's healthy. So now let's get to that bench. You got Rose. Now I got him at the point. I got IQ as a shooting guard. I got Burks at the 3. I got Toppin at the 4, and I got Noel. I can't see any of these younger guys beating those guys out. On the third string on the chart, you got McBride as the point guard. Vildoza, he's more of a combo, so I slotted him at the 2. You got Grimes. I'm going to put him as a small forward, even though he's really a shooting guard. But because Vildoza's there, I'm going to put him at the 3. You got Knox at power forward, and then you got Gibson as the third string center. And none of those third string guys, I don't see them, breaking into that second unit. Now let's just talk about the fit a little bit. I was listening to what you guys said about Kemba Walker. I really don't see Randle having the ball in his hand any less. Because if you look at it, when he was playing with Rose, he was still pretty much the number one in the pecking order, dominant ball handler. And I think it's going to be the same with Kemba. Don't forget, Kemba can play off the ball. He likes to shoot the three. He puts up 8 attempts. So I think it kind of opens the floor if you got a big burly guy like Julius who has playmaking ability, initiating, and then you got Kemba and Fournier on the wings and RJ over there in the right corner where he's deadly. And I think Mitch is your lob threat. I don't really see anything changing with Julius Randle's role. And what I like about it is when we get into the bench, I think we can play exactly the same. There's no drop off because Noel becomes Mitch, the role man. Toppin, he's in that Randle role, but he's not a ball handler, but he's your vertical threat. He's your athletic guy. And then you got Burks and Fournier who are interchangeable. Walker and Rose are interchangeable. And then you got Quickly. He's going to be in that Barrett role, shooting threes. So I really think you can play the offense the same exact way between the first and second unit. So I don't see too many instances where, remember, when we had Elf, there's a major drop-off depending on who's on the court. I think we can still maintain whatever lead we built, or we can make a comeback, if we had a slow start. And that's what I love about the fit with these guys.
So I want to talk a little bit about RJ before I get into my thoughts on the kids. I guess he's one of the kids. So it makes sense that I'm leading off with him. I think he's going to have to get used to taking less shots. I think that's one thing that's going to happen. I also think that Randall's probably not he's going to be the number one option. I agree with Coke. But I think he may not dominate the ball as much. I should look up his usage off the top of my head, but I wouldn't be shocked to see if that takes a little bit of the hit, because you're going to need to find time for Fournier and Kemba to have the ball in their hands and hit some shots as well. But what I think is going to help RJ out a lot is because we've added so much more dribble penetration with Fournier and Kemba, is that we're going to see the offense scrambling more often. Like the one thing that always drove me crazy about Peyton is that he would drive into the paint and he would never kick it out for a three. Chances are, with Kemba and Fournier, we're going to play a lot more drive and kick. And because we have multiple guys that can dribble, it's a good thing because when you see the offense scrambling and you're more likely to see them miss a rotation. And I think that's going to help out RJ a lot because he's not really super efficient off the drive. He's definitely below average at the rim. If he's going to be getting the ball in more of these scramble situations, I think he's going to thrive and be more efficient. So I think that's going to help him out a bunch. But he's going to have to realize that he's going to be taking less shots. Now, as for the kids, I'm sorry, McBride and Grimes. I thought you were going to play, but you're not playing anymore. I know you guys are probably sitting at home watching this later, but I want to let you down easily. But you're in luck. We have a lot of people that are injury prone. I'm guaranteed that Burks is going to miss time, and we're going to see some Grimes. I'm sure Kemba wasn't even playing back-to-backs last year, so I'm sure McBride is going to, pop up here and there. He's probably going to take Frank's role, to be honest. He's probably going to be Mr. Situational, come in and play some defense. I'm sorry for your loss, Slice. But yeah, it should be interesting. I really like the bench. I think that they're going to have a lot of cohesion in, year two of Obi was starting to figure it out. And now I'm excited to see him in Summer League too, because I feel like he's going to get an opportunity to be like, I already know what the speed of the NBA game is like. I should be able to thrive here. Moo, on to you.
You're muted.
So they still have cap space, right? About $8 million?
No, just the exception, the room exception.
Oh, okay. I mean, there's still an opportunity. I still think that, even if the roster is full, that they have a potential of using that kind of exception for another player. Somebody's going to fall, right? Money's beginning to dry up. There's still some, interesting players left. So I don't know that this is the set roster, right? I don't know if they knew about Kemba, right? And everything was built around it may have been, and that's why they drafted the players they did, right? More solid guys that they might be able to come in and play a role on a team versus high upside guys that you have to kind of you're not sure about, and you have to work them in. Maybe they did, but I think if they have the opportunity, they're going to use that exception to sign someone. I would be looking for any of these guards or wings that may just fall through the cracks and have to take a small contract.
At whose expense though? Like which player do you see? Because we got 15 right now. So
Yeah, I mean, starting five is a starting five. I agree with everybody. Those are the starting five. I think Rose is your sixth guy. Burks is the seventh guy. So those guys, I don't think they're where they are. I think the question now is everybody else, and what they can do, and I think if they can, I'll just throw a name out there, right? Let's say I mentioned Danny Green as a possibility. If you're going to win and you want to try to take that next step, second round, or you want to, show stars that you're serious, you want to get a guy like Green in, right? Who's crafty, who's competitive. He can still shoot. He can still defend a little bit. If they land a guy like that for that exception, I mean, it's going to push everybody down the pecking order, which is fine. I don't really, unlike a lot of the guys on the board, I don't really care about who loses what minutes, right? I want to win. Right, it's whatever is good for the team. So
come on, Moo, you gotta have a favorite. Who's your favorite? Come on,
the team.
Yeah, you gotta have you gotta have your pet. Everybody does.
I don't.
Nerlens.
I no, definitely not. No.
I got my
Definitely
RK Barrett
not.
on right now. He's mine who I'm invested in.
Honestly, I don't really have one. I think my last guy that I really liked. Wow, I don't know. It would have been back in the 90s.
Really?
Yeah.
So if you had to buy a jersey from one of the guys on the team, who would you get?
For one of the guys that's currently on the team. I don't know, Taj.
Taj? Okay.
Yeah.
Taj
I'm
is
a
your
big
guy.
fan of players like that. I love the Anthony Mason.
he likes that grit.
I love that grit, right? That, which might be surprising. A lot of guys might think that I like, flashy offensive guys. No, I really don't. Right? I like specific types of guys that compete, that fight, that does whatever it takes to win, and actually has kind of a solid game. I don't, so on this team, I'm interested in winning. However it's done, I don't really care. So if the direction of this team is not going tank and not pure young player development, then you do whatever you need to given the direction of what you want to do with the plan. Right, so adding a vet like Danny Green, I'm for. On the flip side, I'm not against adding Kelly Oubre and seeing what Tibbs can do with them. Right, on a cheap contract, the guy's super talented. Right, he can defend. So can Tibbs unlock him and force him to defend? He's not necessarily a bad guy. I don't think he's Kuzma. Right, so somebody said that he's Kuzma and should be in Shanghai. No, I think Kuzma definitely should be in Shanghai because that guy's nuts.
Yeah.
But I think Oubre can play and he can. Become a better player overall than he is. I'd be interested in seeing what he can do with Tibbs. Right, so those are the two types of guys. I would be looking to add more talent, more guys that can play, and see what Tibbs can do with it. I trust Tibbs. I think he can make players better. I think you can give him guys, and he'll get them to play team ball. Right, so. I don't know. Young guys, I like McBride out of the three. I'm not a big fan of Grimes. I think he's a borderline NBA player. Be quite honest. I do like McBride. I like his fight. His kind of reminds me a little bit of IQ in some ways, and in the confidence and all of that. So I think if anybody gets a chance to squeeze in, it might be McBride. Although it'll be hard because it require a lot of guys to get injured. Knox, I think, is on his way out. He hasn't shown a thing. I don't see anything about
he's
that.
back. Yeah, he's back at summer league. So
yeah.
That's never a good sign. What is it, year 4? And you're back at summer league.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not good.
Jericho Sims might be third best whatever vertically in combine history. He doesn't have any basketball skills.
Yeah, and he's a senior too.
But you know what I like though?
Yeah.
I know he doesn't have like a sky high basketball IQ, but when a guy has that much physical tools,
right,
and you got offensive players around him, the defense is going to cheat off him if he ever sees the floor. So, if this guy makes it, he's going to be a crazy lob threat. I mean, his bounce is so quick, it's crazy. the second jump is just incredible.
Yeah,
So,
I think
he's a super duper athlete, man.
He's gonna be.
He
What was
is.
his name? Kenny
Yes.
Wooten, or whatever his name
Wooten.
was. Yeah,
Yeah.
Wooten, right?
But
That's
he's way-
literally gonna be him. Point two. I would love to see him get on the court, like you said. His athleticism is crazy, but it's just gonna be Kenny Wooten part 2, in my opinion.
I think he has a little bit more to the bag though, because Wooten is
He's
a
bigger.
great shot blocker, but this guy is bigger and he just gets off the floor a lot quicker, man. Like
Fair
you know,
points.
I would focus.
I
on,
want to develop him.
Yeah, focus on he can rebound. I think rebounding, especially offensive board, boxing out, kind of using his leaping ability to kind of challenge, intimidate shots a little bit. He's not going to be a shooter, right? He's not going to put the ball on the floor. He's not going to be a high offensive guy. I think you can use him as a rebounder, intimidator, using his physical tools, his strength, his size. The guy's got, he's built. His legs, his thighs are like, running back size on a 6'10" guy. That's impressive.
At 58, I mean, that's what you look for.
Yeah.
You're not going to get a refined guy. Just try to take a shot in the dark. And I did like that pick. A lot of us thought they wouldn't even take anyone. We thought they would trade out of it, but I was happy to see. Just do something with it. Throw him in a G League. Keep him on a two-way. And 2 years down the line, maybe he develops into something. That's all I ask with that.
Right.
Yeah, people have been talking a little crazy about Grimes, though. They're already like, I've seen like Jamal Murray comparisons. I've seen that he's
it's that time of year, man.
I've seen that he's better than RJ already.
Can I ask real
throw
quick?
some comps?
Can I ask? It's like I'm gonna comp real quick. Do you guys think best potential upside for Grimes on offense? Do you think he looks a little like Evan Fournier?
Oh, maybe.
I threw out Dylan Brooks. That's what I Dylan
He
Brooks.
can be Dylan Brooks.
A guy who already has a
Brooks.
solid body, can shoot a little bit, not really that much wiggle, but can take you off the dribble on a straight line. I see something like that. If we end up with Dylan Brooks, you got to be
that'd be great. I'd be thrilled. I take everything back. I'll even apologize to no one's.
I think that's a good comp, actually. Yeah, that's a fair point. If he becomes Dylan Brooks, I don't think any of us could complain at that point, right?
No,
That's
25.
25. I don't think any of us can complain. We had luck with Quickly in that draft slot last year. So, I mean, to me, I liked what he did in Houston a little bit. I liked what I saw from him out of college. And I think he can contribute a bit. So, I don't really have a comp, but Dylan Brooks is probably a good one for him. So, I'd be happy with that. But
if he shows out, you could always trade Burks too. Because like for me, up until the Kemba deal, Burks was my favorite deal.
Wait, but hold on. I got to interrupt you though. If this guy shows out or showed any type of promise, you got to remember he's going to be the one to go.
Yeah,
because we're
going
we're going to keep the vets and we're going to try to bring in Lillard and we're going to get rid of the kids. It's fuck them kids season.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
I'm just thinking of the MJ meme.
That's it. That's all it is.
Fuck them kids.
So just put Leon Rose's face over MJ, and you got the Knicks offseason pretty much right there.
Yeah.
What you got? What's the comp for McBride though?
I thought I definitely see maybe a little Pat Beverly, but I feel like he's a little bit better offensively than that. Like he's definitely got like a decent pull up jumper and stuff like that.
I'm gonna give a low end, high end.
Okay.
Because you sound like you wasn't finished, so you finish up.
No. You go. I want to collect my thoughts some more about this.
All right, high end. I say Marcus Smart, and I say that because I watched his highlights, but I'm mostly intrigued by the interviews. He's like a super serious dude. Like he shows no fear. He has that stoic game face.
That's what I like.
He reminded me of Marcus Smart. Low end, I'm gonna go with a Tibbs guy. I don't know if you remember the days when he was running Kirk Heinrich out there at the point guard. So I'm gonna say those two for low end, high end.
I'm gonna go high end Drew Holiday.
Drew,
yeah,
you're going.
That's really high.
It's extra high.
Yeah, you're shopping at Saks Fifth Ave for that one, bro.
Damn straight. What I'm just saying is that he does have this off the dribble shoot game, which Marcus Smart doesn't really have. Like I don't really trust Marcus Smart to take pull up jumpers.
That's true.
McBride did that in college a lot. So I think that's what are the chances of him actually reaching this as a second round pick? Probably slim to none. But I could see that more comparison just from the off the dribble shoot game and the elite defense. And I like Kurt Heinrich on your low end, so I'm going to steal that too.
Yeah, I don't really have any. I think he's unique. I do like his fight, his competitiveness, like Coke said, and those are the type of players I like. Upside, yeah, is great, but if they're coming in and they've got that kind of marshmallowy attitude, I don't really want that. I want
Kevin
guys.
Knox. Kevin
Yeah,
Knox.
yeah.
Frank.
Yeah.
Frank.
Yeah, no, that's not right. It's to do well in the NBA. It's you got to be able to compete because you're not going to be able to just walk out there, no matter I don't care who you are, and be able to do things right. You have to be able to take a hit, come stand back up and push back, swing.
Also,
back.
you're going to be willing to fight.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
Like there's no rolling over. Like Kevin Knox will roll over and play dead.
All right, hold on.
Yeah.
You said push back and you said fight. So I gotta throw this as slice. Moose said we got what is it? The room exception left. Do you want to see your boy Frank come back? He pushed LeBron. He showed some fight.
I don't talk about Frank as much because he's not a Knick. I liked Frank. I like the defense, but I would much rather go with what Moose said before. Give me a Danny Green or an Oubre. With that money there, I think we're better off with that. Frank, he doesn't have the offense there to really be worth it, right? I liked him as a defensive player. He didn't bring it. He had enough chances. I would love to see him back. Unfortunately, we only have one more spot. We're trying to become trying to stay a playoff team and compete. I think Moo hit it on the head with his analysis there. That room exception should be saved for a veteran player who can come in and be that backup 3-4. I know, Coke, you kind of mentioned Burks as the de facto backup 3. I think he's more of our backup 2. I think we're going to have the young guys are going to be pushed back a little bit, and I think we are going to get another because we do need another wing. Burks is better off as a kind of a ball handler in the backcourt there to alleviate a little bit of pressure off Rose. If Rose or Kemba is out, then I do like a backcourt of Burks and IQ together. I think they work off each other really well, and we saw that last season, so I like it a lot. I would definitely love to see a Danny Green or an Oubre come. I don't know if Iggy's even a free agent, but even get an Iggy. You know what I mean? Somebody who's proven that they can do it instead of bringing back Frank. And I know MP is going to kill me for this because I called him out before. I'm saying I don't want Frank back, but with the way the team is now and only one spot left, and apparently Theo Pinson's coming back to wave the towel a little bit more. We don't have the space for a Frank. You got McBride. McBride's my new Frank. How about that? Not player comp. He's my young defensive guy I want to see get on the court.
I have to issue a correction here real quick. The Theo Pinson coming back, that wasn't actually correct. He still could, but as of right now, he's not on the team. He's not.
Yeah, I know he's not, but I figured, because there's rumors out there with what we might not even bring Vildoza back because he's not guaranteed, right? Or not bring him back, but bring him on next year because he's been kind of underwhelming during the Olympics as well. So,
he's been bad.
Yeah, he hasn't been showing out. I love what I'm seeing from Fournier. But yeah, I thought Vildoza was going to use this opportunity to show out for a tough Argentinian team, and he didn't. So, we got enough guards.
That's what I was saying before we went live. I was saying, we got to find out the date that his contract becomes guaranteed, because I could see a situation where if he doesn't show out in training camp, I don't know what the date is, but if it's closer towards the regular season, maybe they'll cut him at that point and see who gets cut from other teams and get a 3-and-D wing in to replace him. So that's something to look for. If anybody can pull up, that date, throw it out there.
Yeah. Because I was going to say,
you got it.
It's non-guaranteed for right as of right now. It becomes guaranteed one day after opening night.
See,
so we
right
have
there.
Plenty of time.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd rather not Danny Green though. I think he's cooked. I don't think he's got nothing left.
If you could get Oubre, that would be great.
Right,
that
would be a steal. But then again, I would hate to see IQ out of the rotation because that's probably what's going to end up happening.
I was actually going to ask about that, Jim, because you guys keep throwing out wings, and it's like, well, I think Rose, Burks, and Quick are our bench guards, like guard wings. Mm-hmm. Quick is going to be the first one to go off there. I don't really think that a guy like Green offers that good of a skill set to make it really, tangibly better. I think our biggest weakness off the bench is backup 4. So
Obi?
Obi. So what I think, the first person that came to mind is maybe someone like, Paul Millsap. I know he's really old, but we need someone more in that
He's
bigger
super
forward.
washed. He is. You're saying Danny Green is washed. Paul Millsap. I'm a fan of his because just the way he plays, but that man is washed.
Yeah. But that's
You think-
the thing.
you think-
Like, he's we don't really. I think like like guy like that's fine. And you know what? Maybe the old man Obi can teach the young kid a few tricks while he's at it.
Well, we got to remember politics is going to be at play, and Obi is their pick, so they're going to put him in every position to succeed. And if you paid attention to the playoffs, it seems like the speed, the speed of the game finally slowed down. So for a person who's pro Obi, they could argue reasonably that maybe you got to give him a shot in year 2. Say the trend is that he's a late bloomer, so maybe he gets it together. And then behind Randall, is Randall really going to play 36, 37 minutes again? I feel like he just can't. The roster's deep now, so
He doesn't have to.
Yeah, give those minutes to Obi, man. Let's see what he has. I don't want to give up on him too quick.
Yeah, if you can get him down to like 34, 35 minutes, Randall.
That's the sweet spot.
Yeah, I think that's the sweet spot. Same with RJ too. I mean, he was up there 38 minutes a game, which is crazy.
He's definitely going to drop.
Yeah. Tibbs benched him a bunch in the fourth quarter when he was having bad games. I'm definitely going to foresee that happening more frequently than it did last year. That's for sure.
Go ahead.
I was gonna throw this out there. What do you think the chances that Taj plays the 4 in some moments?
It depends on Obi.
Yeah.
If Obi produces, no. Taj is just going to be that vet that's always has to be ready. Tibbs he can call his name at the drop of a hat, and he knows exactly what he's going to get. So I think Obi's going to get the first shot, off of politics alone.
Sure.
But if Obi's dropping a ball and looking like a deer in headlights, will Tibbs hesitate to call Taj's name? Hell no.
Yeah.
But I think Obi's got to get the chance first, though.
I mean, I'm really hoping that Taj wins Noel's minutes. It'll make the signing even worse. But I would much rather watch Taj Gibson out there than Noel.
Oh, if Taj could only be like 3 years younger. Oh man.
Yeah, seriously, we wouldn't even be having this discussion.
We can't forget though. But despite getting used and abused by Capella in the playoffs, Noel had a decent year as the backup center. The problem is, when he became the starter, that's the issue.
Right.
So as long as Mitch is there, I don't mind Noel off the bench.
Sure.
That's the thing. We got to have these guys slotted in the right role.
Yeah, if I see one more drop pass by him, it's gonna make me so sad.
Those bobbles are a problem.
Yeah. Well, there were so many times last year that RJ had turnovers from either finding Peyton in the corner for a break, or like throwing an alley-oop, or like a wraparound pass to Noel, and it just like doinked off his face like a toddler that like missed the ball his father threw. So I guess, is this a nice segue into who our favorite signing is and our least favorite signing?
You can go ahead, jump into that.
Sure. Yeah, obviously, as it sounds like, Noel is my least favorite signing. He got paid way too much. I think I'd be more tolerable of it if it was like 3 years, like $24 million. But even then, because then that's like only a slight overpay for most backup bigs.
Right.
I kind of wish, like, even though he got paid more money, I feel like I'd much rather would have tried to go after Kelly Olynyk just to like give us like a little something different instead of like rim runner Taj Gibson, rim runner stretch big Taj Gibson, would just a little variety in our skill sets. And then I'm going to say Alec Burks was probably my favorite deal. He was like our 6th/7th man, and he was our fourth quarter closer a lot. And to get him for $10 million a year is just a steal. Most of these like wing guys get paid a lot of money. I mean, Doug McDermott, I think, got paid 3 years, $42 million. That's
surprising.
That's a lot of money. And Burks is certainly a better player than Dougie McBuckets. So yeah, Burks is my favorite. Slice.
I mean, I think, Nerlens is, I think, everybody's least favorite signing this offseason. I don't think there's anybody else that comes close. Too much money for a backup center. Could have saved a few bucks on him. Burks is probably the smartest signing, I would say, because of what you mentioned there, 3 for 32, very favorable contract when you saw what, T.J. McConnell got, Doug McBuckets, a lot of these other guys got out there. I think we got great value on Burks. My favorite signing was getting was Kemba. We needed an upgrade at point guard, and I think getting Kemba at the price that we got him at kind of sealed the deal and to me bumped it up from a B plus to an A minus. My grade I gave earlier was getting Kemba, getting that point guard there, and really solidifying that point guard rotation. 24 minutes of 24 minutes of Kemba, 24 minutes of Rose. Ideal time for those guys to make sure they don't get too burnt out, and we get great production 48 minutes from the point guard spot. So smartest signing Burks, least favorite Noel, but my favorite signing I think was Kemba. Coke, I'll kick it to you next.
Of course I could go with Kemba as the favorite, so I'm not going to do that because it's too obvious. I'm going to go with Rose for my favorite signing. I'll tell you why. We got him with the early bird exception. So I think that was the big play right there, because if he's taking up cap space, we don't have the money left over to get Kemba. So I'm going to go with Rose just for the simple fact that, it didn't count against our cap allotment. And then on the second hand, Rose as your primary point guard, you have mad questions about his durability. We were all looking like, who's going to play behind this guy? Is he really going to be the starter? Is Tibbs going to run him into the ground? So, but when you have Rose slotted in as your sixth man, backup point guard, you now have an elite backup point, arguably the best in the league. When you factor in last season that he shot 40% from three. Mm-hmm. He can still get to the rim. He doesn't finish as efficiently at the rim as he used to, but he'll get you off the dribble. And then at the same time, this guy got an MVP vote. So to get him for that early bird exception, I think that was phenomenal. And least favorite signing, again, I don't want to pick Noel just because everybody's going to pick him. That's so right. I'll go in another direction. Burks was a good signing. I wish we could have got him a little bit cheaper. Like if he was at $6-7 million, long term, maybe give him an extra year. Maybe that would put us in a better position and maybe make a run at a guy like Oubre, because we have a little more cash left over. But didn't happen. But I'm still happy with it. I just don't want to keep parroting the same stuff. But I really did like that Rose signing. I think that early bird, getting him in that slot, was so key to getting Kemba.
Well, yeah, they first reported that it wasn't. They didn't slot him into the early bird, and then I saw Jeremy Cohen say that they were like $200K over it, and I was like, that's
crazy.
I was like, this is the least Brock Aller thing in the entire world, and that was like the thing that pissed me off the most. I was like, this is outrageous. I can't believe they would do something so stupid by giving him $200K extra to now have to take him out of cap space. I was just like, that's just nuts. I was like, that's a huge failure, and everyone needs to be fired.
I think I agree. Obviously Noel, I dislike the least, but I think much like the way the team played last year defensively, individually, I mean, other than Kemba, I don't think any of the deals were necessarily great. But when you combine it together and you add Noel, when you add Kemba on top, I think as a whole, especially what some of these other players are getting, and the reality that the Knicks were, they weren't going to get Chris Paul, right?
Yeah.
They couldn't afford that. Kawhi's not going anywhere. And we saw how much did Conley get? That was a surprising contract. That was a lot.
Was he 3 years, $75 million?
Yeah, for the Jazz to do that. Wow.
Yeah.
You talk about Kyle Lowry, 3 for 90.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, overall, yeah. I mean, the sum, when you add everything together and you put the kind of Kemba cherry on top, I think it's a solid B. I'm usually pessimistic, so solid B is pretty good for me.
Yeah, the
I know we weren't getting
is that I saw.
Yeah.
We froze for a second. Sorry. The most exciting thing that I saw was that Kemba's pretty injury prone, but apparently Kyle Lowry has played the same amount of games in the past 2 years as Kemba has. So to get him at $8 million as opposed to 30 is wheeling and dealing. Yeah. Tweet your Tony Soprano gifs for Leon Rose.
Let me throw this out there real quick, because I saw this a lot on the forum. A lot of people were saying, when everyone was disappointed before the Kemba transaction was announced, everyone was like, what did you guys expect? I knew we weren't never going to get Chris Paul, Conley, Lowry, and these other guys because I think they want a ready-made team that they can guarantee is going to go deep into the playoffs. But I was surprised that we seemed like we were not interested in all at Lonzo Ball. That threw me off. I was talking about that a lot. I thought we were going to slot into those young guys who have, some upside left, who can grow with guys like Randall and RJ. We didn't really chase guys like that, though, and that was surprising. We went with bringing our own guys in, and then we went with vets in Fournier and Kemba. So give me your thoughts on that. I mean, were you guys surprised as well?
Yeah. Because that would have been my grand scheme of things. Because like you said, realistically, like everyone said, CP3 wasn't coming, Kawhi wasn't coming. So my thought would be just like you add one person to the core, and that would have been Lonzo Ball for me. Like he's not the answer for us to what we need at point guard, but he's a young player that still had some upside. You figure you add him in, and then you try to bring back as many of your other pieces, seeing if you could do like 1 year big loaded deals, kind of like what we did in 2019, but with pieces that fit better. So I was really shocked about that. And that's one of the things why I was so disappointed. It's like, you really wanted Rose and Fournier to be your core guys. Like, we know who they are, like kind of just capping us out as this like mediocre team. But again, now adding Kemba on top of that, he's like, he can be a legitimate second, third option every night. He can easily give you 20 points at any given moment, So it makes everything a lot better.
So can I say, like, I think if you swap Fournier for Lonzo, because that's really that would have been the choice we made, because Lonzo would have been our shooting guard. If you swap them, I think this is a much better offseason, because I know Fournier is better right now, but I think Lonzo does much of the same stuff. He's better defensively, and I think he has more room to grow. I would have rather had Lonzo on that 4-year deal, even though he's a little more expensive, I think, than Fournier on his 3+1.
Same.
But it seems like maybe the plan is to still on the one hand try to compete and win more games, but on the other hand kind of punt a little bit more, right? Because Kemba is 31, 32. Fournier is heading into his 30th year. They're not long-term pieces, right? But they are guys that can probably help you win. This current mix of players. So I'm still guessing that the ultimate plan is to still chase that big guy, but do it more, incrementally by improving, and maybe in like 2 years, you can actually say, okay, we've shown that we are consistently a playoff team, right? Now we're ready, we're serious. We talked about that earlier, so I think that's probably the plan. And in that sense, maybe shorter contracts are better.
I just thought, because the Bulls obviously thought that Lonzo was the key to getting Levine to stay.
That was the risk, right? Yeah.
So that was the reason why I was like, oh, let's try to poach him, because if he's whatever's the reason for Levine to stay, but now we've taken ourselves out of that running, so it doesn't really matter anymore.
I mean, the Bulls went full press, right? They brought Vucevic. Not only did they get Lonzo, they added DeRozan. So now, you're going to Levine and saying, look, you got 3 guys, really talented guys. If you just resign now, right. So
yeah,
I think that Levine ship is sailed, man.
Yeah, I think so.
It's not there. I mean, like, kind of to what Kyle said, Lonzo might have been the sexier pick, the sexier signing. And I think that might have been, a lot of people said it's kind of a boring offseason, blah, blah, blah. I could see that. I kind of did want Lonzo on there. Coke, actually, I won't front. I jumped to the board to see if you were posting on there once that Lonzo sign and trade went through, just because you were all aboard the Lonzo thing last year. But I think that's another factor that played into it. I think it was Sato, Garrett Temple, and a second-round pick, maybe 2. And maybe the Knicks just didn't want to give up any assets to put themselves in line for a star in the future, and they kind of had their plan. So maybe because it was a sign and trade and not a straight-up free agent signing, that might have played into a factor not to lose future assets. I would have liked Lonzo. To me, I don't think it would have graded it any different between Lonzo and Fournier, in my opinion. I know others might disagree. I don't know. I wish I would have liked to have Lonzo, but I don't think it's really a make or break thing for us, to some of the points that Moo had mentioned. And I think it was just sign and trade that maybe kind of took the Knicks out of it, right?
I think it's something different. I think we saw our team get so exposed that no one really had an off the dribble game in which Lonzo does have some step back threes, but I'm not like too keen on him like creating a shot for himself. So I think that's probably why we didn't pursue him. Like Kemba Walker's got pull up jumpers for days. He can create shots. Evan Fournier can do that same thing. Alec Burks can do that as well. And we saw us prioritize, if people get chased off the line, they're going to be able to hit a jumper in someone's face.
Definitely. That's why, to me, I don't think it would have been a better offseason if we had Lonzo instead of Fournier for those reasons that you just mentioned, Jim. But, now that Moo, you kind of brought it up there, and I did want to make sure we pointed this out. That's kind of the comparison, right? Our free agents, our offseason versus what Chicago did. Bringing in DeMar DeRozan for, I think, 3 years, $85 million, for Lonzo, 4 years, $85 million, Vooch in last season. What do you guys think of Chicago's offseason? And would you have wished that it was the Knicks who did those deals instead of Chicago?
I'll jump in first. I like in isolation the talent that Chicago's assembled, but I like our fit better. And I think for a long time, we used to make fun of guys like Steve Mills, Isaiah Thomas, where we say, hey, they bring a lot of talented guys in, but the pieces just don't fit. Everyone's playing selfish ball. That line of thinking. I think our approach was well thought. I think it was strategic. I think this is why we're the amateurs and they're the professional GMs, because remember when we spoke at the end of the season, everyone said Bullock should be prioritized over Burks. And it looks like that management did the exact opposite. They prioritized Burks over Bullock. It was pretty clear they wanted to retain Burks, and they let Bullock go out there and shop for a deal, and he got it. So, in isolation, the Bulls got more talent, but I think we're going to have a better season. I think the pieces fit better. I like the synergy, and I like the depth that we have, and it seems like guys can play off each other. I'm not sold on that Chicago team being able to play off each other.
Yeah, it's going to be a weird fit with Levine and DeMar DeRozan, because it's like you definitely want Zach to have the ball in his hands, but DeRozan has no off-ball game at all. So are you going to kind of play him in the Giannis role a little bit, where you kind of just space the floor and you let DeRozan go to work and either pass out for threes or hit mid-range jump shots? I don't know. I just don't feel DeRozan has never really been that much of a winning player. I think that's putting a big gamble on that. And, you want Levine to, rise to the next level. That's the ideal goal for the Bulls. So I do like what they did. I wonder how they're going to work defensively. But, I think that's the only question is, how do you design an offense around DeRozan being the guy that has the ball in his hands, really?
Yeah, I just don't see it. If one of these guys was a top 5 guy, a super elite player, then you can say the pecking order is established and who's the guy. Right now, I don't know if any of these guys know who should be the guy. And if they can't figure that out, it's kind of like an Isaiah Thomas built team. Mm-hmm. I think it's better players, but it's kind of like that. So. I don't think, DeRozan, you could say, is probably the right now the most established player and the closest to the top players of the league, but he's not, right? He's kind of heading into the wrong side of 30. And he doesn't have that kind of super elite game. It's interesting. They did what they have to do. I think, from a plan standpoint, they realize they need to add talent. They need to, convince their guys, Zach to stay. And I think this probably does that. Although if the team implodes, it might expedite his, desire to get out. So you never know. I think talent, they won. Fit, every set, I don't see it.
DeRozan, DeRozan averaged almost 6.97 assists last season with the Spurs. So he showed he's able to distribute the ball well. But like you guys said, those are 3 players that do really well with the ball in their hand. Plus Vooch, he's got a 3-point shot that he shows up sometimes, but he's a good offensive player. But defensively, what do they really got? Does Pat Williams take that next step? And what's their bench? Is there anybody
Alex
even on there?
Caruso.
Yeah,
Alex Caruso, maybe?
You got Caruso the guy, but who else is on their bench right now? Realistically, I'm drawing blanks right now.
Kobe
White.
Kobe White.
I'm not a fan of his. I don't
See the minutes for him anyway.
Yeah, I'm not a fan, but I don't think
they got Laurie Markkinen.
I don't know if he's signed yet, but yeah.
I thought he was still restricted free agent unless
he's restricted.
He's still restricted.
Oh, my bad.
So right now, I don't see the depth for them, and I think it is a kind of a clunky fit unless DeMar can kind of really dedicate himself to playing that point forward role and not really look for his bucket. Alonzo Ball moves the ball really well as well, so that's the only thing. But I just don't see, like you guys just said, and it's just fit. I don't think they have the fit. I don't think they have the depth. They made those sexy names that people like to see, which not a boring free agency, but the fit isn't there, which is why I think that what the Knicks did was not much better, but better.
You know who they got though? You know who they got at the bench? You got Troy Brown Jr.
Troy Brown Jr.
Remember when Melo wouldn't shut up about that guy?
another guy that's better than RJ Barrett, right?
Oh God. Oh man, but no. See, but yeah, I mean that's my thoughts on the Bulls. Even some other teams out there, the Spurs. What the hell are they doing? Doug McDermott and who was the other guy they signed for an astronomical amount? Some forward
wasn't Kelly Olynyk?
No, Olynyk went to the Pistons.
He signed the dude that said the anti-Semitic thing during Call of Duty.
Oh, the Myers Leonard?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think
they signed him.
Myers Leonard.
Yeah. He hasn't even really played in the league in like a couple of years.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I thought he was out. But I remember it was just, the Spurs did some very un-Spurs-like things this offseason. But so they're really, that dynasty's over.
Pops is losing it, man.
Pops is losing is a good point. Look at him out there in Team USA's bench. He's looking like he doesn't care anymore anyway. Kyle brought up a good point in the Discord real quick. We can all laugh real quick at Dennis Schroeder. There were some people who wanted him over here. I mean,
I wanted no parts of that guy.
I wanted to pass on him. I wasn't a fan, but I don't know, Jim, Moo, or Kyle, if you guys were ever on the train with him. But it's sad. It's sad to see what he kind of did to him or his agent did to his value this offseason.
Mo, I'm looking at your face, man. Please don't tell me you like this guy.
He Noelled himself. He could have taken a fat deal from the Lakers, and he decided not to. And then he found out nobody wanted him.
Yeah, I don't like the move for him to the Lakers. I don't think it fit. Right. Yeah. He always struck me as a guy that he's confident. He's a little bit on the cocky side, and he needs the ball at this point in his career. He's still kind of a young guy. Being on the Lakers and being really like second, third fiddle, fourth fiddle. And kowtowing to the hierarchy, the structure they have there. I didn't see that was the system for him. He went there, and it was a mess. On this Knicks, I mean, the problem is the Knicks, what they need, where they're at, what they're trying to do, what Tibbs. I don't think the fit is there. I mean, if you could get him for, the rumor section, maybe. Right, it's all about value. But giving him,
he can't shoot though, man. It's like high end Alfred. You know what I mean? But a bad locker room fit as well because he's he has bad character. He whines.
That was the problem. That's part of the reason I never saw the fit with the Lakers. But the Lakers, I mean, they're kind of getting desperate, right? They're seeing all the other super teams out there getting, the top end guys that get bought out, and they're kind of struggling. So they're reaching for anything, right? So
let's talk about that fit. I did want to bring up the Lakers. Their starting lineup is going to be what? You got Westbrook, Bron, Melo, AD, and Gasol. Maybe. I don't know if it might, you might switch it up and see somebody else, but
Dwight Howard is there.
Dwight Howard, I think he's going to be a backup five, but he might start over Mark. That's a good point, but there's no spacing on that team then with that starting lineup. That's bricks outside of Melo. So it's a little bit tough. I just want to see Melo win a ring. This is the only time they'll ever see me root for LA, root for a LeBron team. I want Melo to end his career on a high note, and that's just purely from a selfish Melo fan standpoint. And you can shit on me all you want because I see Jim's looking very unimpressed over there. But I don't know. Let's talk about the Lakers, right? They're up there, and I do want to bring up the Nets getting Patty Mills on a great deal, 2 for $12, which was a steal for Patty Mills. I would have loved to see Patty Mills come to the Knicks. But Coke, let's start off with you with 2 of the title favorites now. You can even talk about Milwaukee getting Rodney Hood. losing PJ Tucker to Miami. Even you can talk about a bunch of these teams, but let me know if you think any of these super teams or playoff teams or finals contenders got better or significantly worse.
Well, the Lakers, I don't know, man. It just seems like they're just grabbing names at this point. Big names who are on the downside of their career. You got LeBron and AD, hit with injuries hard this year. Who knows if that's going to be a running trend now at their age? AD's not as old as LeBron, but it's like his body is. So, you add Melo, he's not going to add anything defensively. As much as I love Melo like you, I want to see him win a ring, but I question, if they go up against a formidable opponent, I don't know if they're gonna shine through, man. I see some major defensive concerns outside of AD, and with AD, I don't know how long he's gonna be on the court. So I think they got a lot of question marks, big names, questionable fits. That's all I'm gonna say about them. As far as Milwaukee Bucks, they're the champs, man. They got Roddy Hood, but I don't think that's doing much. This guy, since the Achilles injury, he's not the same. He had a terrible year, horrible efficiency for a wing. So I don't really give them any points for that. They're the champs, so they get bragging rights. You got to respect them. They're going to be the team to beat in the East, but I think it's yet to be seen because I think some of these other teams got better. The Nets, like you said, Patty Mills, that's a big time. He's a clutch player. He can hit the three, and then with the shot creators they have with, Harden, KD, Kyrie. I mean, that's a tough team to defend. You got to pick your poison. One thing I didn't like that they lost Jeff Green. I thought you should have did whatever you can to keep this guy because he's a versatile guy. He can hit the three. He shot it at 41% last year. He could defend a little bit. He has some versatility playing a power forward and small ball center. I would have liked to see him brought back. I don't know what they were thinking.
That's a good point.
So where did he go to? Who did he sign with?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Kyle, can you pull that up? Wherever Jeff Green went, was it a money thing or what? I mean, I don't know. But
he went to the Nuggets.
The Nuggets.
That's a good pickup for the Nuggets.
Yeah, definitely. I like what the Nuggets are doing, man. They continue to just make smart moves.
Yeah,
and they're keeping that team deep. So I like that. But as far as Brooklyn, I think offensively, again, they're going to be another all-time great team as far as the ability to just get a shot from anywhere on the floor that they want. But I think they're a lot like the Lakers defensively. There's some concerns outside of those big names. So we got to see how it plays out. So I still think in the East, the team to beat is the Bucks.
I'm going to say, I think the only thing slowing down and stopping Brooklyn is injuries. Durant almost beat the Bucks by himself. Unless he comes back and he's like way worse, and he looked pretty damn good in the Olympics, which I don't foresee him, taking a step back anytime soon. They're just the team to beat. They just have so much talent. They're so deep. Who can really even hang with Durant right now? And I'm curious now with the Lakers if Westbrook is like the bringing Westbrook in is like the final attempt to bring LeBron and move him off ball. You've been hearing about it for years, how he's like, he doesn't want to dominate the ball. He doesn't want to be on ball as much anymore. Is this finally the moment to do it? Because Westbrook can't shoot at all. And LeBron is a pretty damn good catch and shoot guy. I don't know. We'll see. But that he made it work with Dwayne Wade many years ago. So why wouldn't he be able to figure out Westbrook?
So Jim, on that point, you think that LeBron might, look better if he transitioned to more of a Karl Malone type play, where he's more of like setting screens and rolling to the basket, making plays out the short roll?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, I just don't know if he can handle the mileage anymore. He's been pretty banged up 2 of the last 3 years, and I think it'll give him a little less wear and tear on his body to do stuff like that. I could see LeBron standing in the corner a little bit as well. But yeah, I can see him setting screens, kind of like doing like a little bit of a good version of Draymond Green on offense, or more of a threat to score than Draymond Green on offense.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting you brought up LeBron and Wade. I mean, the big difference, other than age, those guys knew each other and played well with each other and liked each other and willing to, do what it takes. I never felt the fit between AD and LeBron. It always seemed like AD was more like, the little puppy dog chasing the the bigger dog. And Westbrook is, kind of notorious for being a individual player, a great one, but an individual one. So it's a little bit different when you bring the Lakers and the Nets side by side. The Nets big three, they're friends, right?
Yeah.
They're willing to give up. They're willing to share, and they have a really good, chemistry, vibe for where each other is. Health is their issue. If they're healthy, I don't see any team being able to beat them. The Lakers, I just don't see it. Even when LeBron and AD were healthy, the few times, whatever, they don't really look like they fit all that well. And when you throw Westbrook, who's notorious as an individual talent, into that mix, is Westbrook going to accept LeBron being LeBron? I don't know. Right.
Yeah.
That's a potential killer. If you didn't have other super teams, then maybe it won't matter. But you've got a lot of other teams with a lot of talent, and chemistry then becomes a factor. And I just don't see it. I don't see what the Lakers is doing. I think it's kind of like a last gasp as LeBron's career, and body starts breaking down. They're just trying for anything. I don't see the Lakers as being a championship team. I think it's obviously the Bucks, the Nets, the Nuggets. If they get back, those are the teams you're looking at. I think the Lakers, they're kind of in that kind of step back secondary group.
Don't they remind you of that old Lakers team with like Kobe, Shaq, Karl Malone, and Gary Payton?
Yeah.
just huge names with the questionable fit and not enough shooting.
Right.
It seems like that.
Yeah.
It should be real interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, you could even go a little bit recent with Nash, Kobe, Dwight Howard.
Oh,
when you had that team as well. So Lakers have a chance to do it. And I think it's going to be a lot of drama. To me, it's going to be when they run into their first losing streak and just kind of seeing LeBron and Melo on one side, Westbrook on the other, and then AD standing in the middle like, shit, who do I join?
I should have gone somewhere else.
You know what I mean? So it's going to be interesting to see for LA.
A lot of egos.
A lot of egos, only one basketball. So, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. And I think that's kind of why I like what they did, because at least it gives you something entertaining to watch during the year outside of just basketball storylines. But nah, I mean, I don't know. Unless anybody else got something, I was thinking about wrapping this one up, boys. Coke, I'll kick it off to you, man. Give us your final thoughts on the free agency period for the Knicks, what you might want to see done with the limited time, the limited money that the team has left, and what you're looking forward to most for the season.
I'm gonna go in another direction. I'm gonna just throw out, summer league is coming up. I want to take a look at these guys. I don't think we're gonna be able to see these kids during the season, so my eyes are gonna be glued to the screen. I know everybody hates him, but I want to look at Knox. Let's see if he brings anything else out of his bag. Maybe becomes a trade asset. Hopefully, if he shows some promise, maybe another team thinks they want to take a flyer on him. And let's see, what we have there. And I want to take a look at Vildoza. Maybe he just had a bad Olympics. Maybe if you put him on a team with a ton of American talent, maybe he comes out of his bag with something as well, because he seems to have a lot of confidence. The shot just wasn't falling in the Olympics, so that's there. As far as free agency, they changed my mind, man. I was going to be very critical of the front office, and I think now that you got to be a little bit more patient with Leon Rose and Worldwide West. I think they got another full season to see if they can make the home run. They hit a couple doubles in the offseason. We're waiting for that home run now. We want to bring in a Beal at the deadline, or a Lillard, or somebody of that ilk. So, it's just something they bought themselves a little bit more time. And I'm sure, just as fans, we're saying this, but Dolan is itching. I know he's sitting there like, I didn't give you this job to bring in Burks again and all these other guys. I know they promised him some big names, so they have an incomplete. I gave him a B, but in the grand scheme of things, it won't be a complete job well done until they bring in a big ticket guy. So that's where I'm going to end off.
All of us want a title contender, but I just don't think it's realistic to jump from, we were 2 years removed from drafting third in the draft with the worst record in the league. I just don't think it's super realistic to just go and become a title contender right away. So this is something that I also said on the forum. Maybe we could just be a good team for a little while. Like, say we end up the next 2 years as the 5th seed. And make one second round. I feel like that would be a very successful run to get us going, and we wouldn't have to fire the front office yet. So maybe let's just be good. And I think that's what these moves have solidified. As long as IQ and RJ and OB make another leap in their production, I think we'll be we'll have solidified a solid group of guys that will be able to be a little bit of fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you guys. I think, ultimately at the end of the day, we don't know what the front office tried to do, failed to do, wanted to do, didn't want to do. The only thing that's kind of clear is that, they're not rebuilding, they're not tanking, right? They're trying to win. Building a solid foundation to win over, in the next few years. I mean, it's a way to do it, right? If you can't hit the home run, you can't find the big guy, and you want to win, that's how you do it. You build. Kemba, it was a surprise signing, and it changed a lot of the perception. If he can, get close to again being prime Kemba, I mean, it makes the team better. But the reality is I don't know how much more with this front office Kemba will be part of the Knicks when his current contract is up. Right, because he's going to be 33, 34, and you're not going to be, this front office doesn't strike me as the group that would be giving a big contract to a guy that age. So right now, their core is still, Randall, 26, 27, Barrett, 20, 21, and then whoever else can step up. Right, so you put more talent around those guys to help those guys. You win. Maybe you get to 50 games. 48, 50 games for the next couple of years. And then you have position, right, to say, big guys, we have two talented young guys that are in their prime. They've gotten better each year. And would you like to be here, come here and be the number one? And that's probably their best shot.
Yep.
So, again, proof is in the pudding. So let's see what happens. If they do well this year, get close to that 50 win season, I think things are looking up. If things fall apart, I don't see it with Tibbs there. Usually his second year is kind of the best year.
Yeah.
Right. In recent years. So I think we'll see an uptick. The talent is better. Kemba, I think, will be fired up to play in New York back home. Yeah. Yep. And I'm looking forward to cautious, optimistic. But yeah, it's it could be worse. I don't know how much better it could have been, right? So I think a lot of it was just being a Knicks fan and saying, yeah, this sucked again, right? But I'm willing to give it a wait and see.
Yeah, I think it was a solid offseason. You got to build on the first true kind of organic, successful season the Knicks have had in a while, right? Those mellow seasons were the 2012, 2013 teams were, veterans that we signed in just for 1 or 2 years, were able to play ball, but, it wasn't going to be long-term and sustainable. Right now, the Knicks kind of grew something, like you said, a younger core, and RJ, 21 years old, Julius, 26, 27. I think Fournier is only 28. I think people talk about him like he's a little bit older. I think he's not even 30 yet. He's got still a couple of years away. So to me, it's kind of a solid offseason for the team. They're trending in the right direction, building the right way. And to Coke's point, the front office was brought here to get that star player. And I think you need to show that you're a solid team and a consistently good team before you can think about bringing a contender in. Because, Jim, you alluded to before, you're not going to jump from lottery to championship like a lot of these posters on the board want. It's just not going to happen, and a lot of these players, LeBron didn't win a title with his first team, that drafted him. A lot of these players don't win championships with a team that drafts them. And the Knicks, the last time we were in the top 3, we got RJ and KP. So, to me, the biggest thing that we need to see, does RJ Barrett, continuous transition, continuous progress, and take the next step. And he's shown good flashes. Now he's got much more better talent around him. He's finally got a coach that's going to be in there for the second year in a row, and a good coach at that. So kind of keep that going, and I think he does take the next step there. So to me, a solid offseason, incomplete grade to Coke point. I think this trade deadline and how the early part of the season goes will really dictate, kind of the next 2 years, I should say, of immediate success for the Knicks. But, you know, it was a good offseason so far. We're not done yet. Sure, there might be a couple of signings coming down the road, but we appreciate you guys taking the time to check us out. Make sure you give us a thumbs up if you like what you heard, as well as subscribing so you check out the latest videos when they come out. And we out.
Congratulations till we run that clock out. MSG the Mecca, this is our house. NYC forever when we mob out. See that kid drip, got that clock clout. Till we run that clock out. MSG Mecca, our house. NYC forever, mob out. Kid drip, clock clout, clock clout.